Human capital is the most important currency on earth. And if you treat people back, or your team, or your clients, or just anybody in general, eventually, right, Devin, it will catch up with you. And it caught up with me. So I've learned today to be empathetic, compassionate, and serve versus trying to be a tyrant, trying to control.
Hey guys, welcome to Keep On Pushing Stories. You know what we do here, right? We share real life stories of persistence, perseverance, inspirational stories that I'm sure you'll be able to relate to. And today we have none other than the amazing Marques Ogden. Bro, Marques, welcome to Keep On Pushing Stories.
How you doing, Devin? Thanks for having me on, brother.
Yeah, man. It's always great to connect. Tell you what, let's start this way. Can you share with our audience what it is that you do, Marques? How do you serve? How do you bring value to the lives of others?
That's a great question. I serve and bring value, Devin, through keynote speaking, business coaching, corporate consulting. I'm a 4-time best-selling author. We have a podcast, which you've been on, called Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. And then I'm also a business owner, and I help different businesses that I align core values with about perseverance, serving others, health and wellness, and we help them either through marketing strategies, growth strategies, and I just love doing that and serving people and helping them become the best version of themselves.
Yeah, one of the jokes that go around about us Jamaicans is that we all always have several jobs. You sound pretty Jamaican to me, Marques. What's going on there?
But you know what, man? Like everything falls under the umbrella of like speaking. So speaking started it, right?
Right.
And from there, it was going slow, but okay, nothing paid. And then wrote our first book, and then we got our first paid speaking job. Then that led to business coaching, which led to corporate consulting. And then we said, you know what, so we have an awesome podcast. Why can't we start one? We started a podcast, and the next thing you know, boom, here we are. So it was a natural progression from, I'm a speaker, and like, I own a restaurant, or I'm a speaker, I own a lawn company. And it all fits into that progression. So from there, it's been good in that regard.
So, bro, if someone wanted to connect with you, let's say they wanted you to come in and speak to their team or, get some coaching, consulting, how would they find you?
Yeah, they can go to our app. That we got the Marques Ogden app. So it's MarquesOgden. You go to your app store on your Android or your Apple phone, type it in, it pops straight up. It's a free app. You can look at our free exclusive content, website, podcast, connect with us, or you can email me at marques@marquesogden.com.
All right, pretty straightforward. So, Marques, let's get down to the meat of the matter here. I know you have lived an amazing life, and with that comes its own set of challenges. So what we'd love to hear from you today is what we call your keep on pushing story. We'd like to hear one time in your life when you had to overcome a significant challenge or perhaps, endure some changes in order to go and achieve what you wanted to achieve. So please do tell us your keep on pushing story.
So Devin, love that question. So basically, it started a construction company in 2008, and we became the largest African-American owned subcontractor in the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland. But unfortunately, what happened was as the company grew, my ego, my attitude, everything just grew massively. I was just so arrogant, so self-centered, didn't treat people right, you name it. And what happened is I ended up getting a massive ego. I ended up pushing away my best employees. I had a job that went south. I spent about $3 million over budget, and I ended up losing everything I owned. What happened is I got a call from the bank, And the bank told me 2 days before Christmas, Marques, we're shutting you down. We're going to take in the bank line, pull it back. We're going to take your equipment line, pull it back. And we're coming after everything that you own in January. Imagine that, Devon. 2 days before Christmas in 2012, that was my reality. Moved to Raleigh the next year. I was so bankrupt. I was so broke. I couldn't even afford to pay $3,300 to protect myself with the bankruptcy attorney. And I ended up being exposed. And when I finally got that done, right, Devon, my bankruptcy attorney said, he told me about a year ago, or a year and a half ago, still to this day, I've had the most creditors on a bankruptcy he's ever seen in his office. I had 177 creditors and $5.5 million of debt. So I finally got that to like in a position to take care of that. But I was here in Raleigh working. I was fired from 2 jobs in the same week. I started coaching football to kind of pay the bills. And then I took a job as a custodian working in downtown Raleigh for $8.25 an hour on the graveyard shift to support my family. And what happened was I still had no accountability, no responsibility, no ownership. I blamed everybody but me. And finally, I hit rock bottom in September 2013 when I had someone trash, rotten meat, nasty, protruding, horrible smelling garbage get all over me. And I ended up crying on the curb. And I said to myself, I have lost really complete sight of my attributes. I lost my tenacity. I lost my perseverance. I lost my grit because of the bankruptcy. Because I had such huge challenges in my life. I got so just blinded and so just overcome with all the challenges. I lost sight of the attributes that I learned and I saw from my father, my grandfather, because attributes we're born with, right, Devon? Like grit, personality, grit, tenacity. We're born with that, but you can see it, but nobody can give it to you. So I saw my dad and my grandfather live like that, but I didn't do that after losing my company. So I said to myself, if I'm gonna get my life back, I gotta reaffirm my attributes. I gotta get tenacious, gritty, and I gotta adapt. Started doing that, started speaking, got no paid jobs for 2.5 years. Finally got my first paid job, April 2016. Things got better, things were going well.
Hey, Marques, before you start, you tell us about the speaking. I want to give our listeners, our audience, a sense of the fall, let's say, because you talk about, sitting on the curb covered in garbage, crying.
Yep.
Compare that image to the image that's behind you with that jersey behind you. Tell us about where you're coming.
So I'm a former NFL athlete. I got drafted to the National Football League by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I played for the Ravens and the Bills as well. I played with my brother Jonathan, who was a first ballot Hall of Famer with the Baltimore Ravens. He's the Ravens' first draft pick ever. And that was a moment of joy, happiness, fulfillment. Wow, I'm an NFL athlete. I was living my purpose at the time. When I had the spoiled milk moment, right, Devon, it made me realize that all that I was as an NFL athlete, all that I used to become an NFL athlete, I lost sight of that in my construction company. And because of that, right, Devon, I ended up on that curb because of losing all those attributes, all those traits that got me to the NFL. I lost those in my business.
So would you say that a defining moment for you was, sitting on the curb, smelly and crying, smelly and sniffling, as it were?
I like that. The double S's, smelly and sniffling. And you know what I realized, Devin? That finally, at that moment, I realized I put myself there. Not my business partner, not the client, not my employees, nobody but Marques Ogden put Marques Ogden there.
Responsibility is what I hear you talking about. And it's one of those key things that we need in order to be resilient, in order to move from whatever circumstances we find ourselves in, to get to where we possibly can get to. So it sounds to me like you learned about responsibility. That's one of the lessons. What else did you take away from that journey from NFL athlete to the curb?
You know what's interesting? I learned now to embrace dynamic subordination. What that means is now, right, Devin, people on my team that have expertise and leadership, knowledge, and capabilities to do certain things, I get out of their way. I remove my ego and let my team do what they do, or my partner do what they do. Because with Caden, as my construction company, I was so fixated on having to always be the leader, be the boss, be the tyrant. I didn't trust anybody, right? And because of that, I lost sight of how to treat people. So I've learned a valuable lesson. Human capital is the most important currency on earth. And if you treat people back, or your team, or your clients, or just anybody in general, eventually, right, Devin, it will catch up with you. And it caught up with me. So I've learned today to be empathetic, compassionate, and serve versus trying to be a tyrant, trying to control.
Yeah. So, bro, I'm hearing so many different lessons there, and you went through this, amazing transition, and you have learned from the experience in terms of leadership and how you treat people. That the people who are in your charge are not just instruments of production; they're whole persons. And of course, no one knows everything, and that's why what's that term, insubordination?
It's
What
called embrace dynamic
dynamic
subordination.
insubordination. I love that, right? Because yeah, the person may not be on your same level in terms of the hierarchy, but they have knowledge that you don't have. But the taking of responsibility to get back on your feet and start being someone who Marques Ogden is proud of and who can contribute. Talk to me about that mindset and what you would advise someone who may fall for whatever reason and find themselves in a similar situation.
So, mindset, Devin, is training your mind to believe what your heart knows is achievable. And if you're struggling with mindset, what happens, right, Devin? Most people's mindset breaks, bends, or starts to buckle under pressure of challenges. So I tell people all the time to keep your mindset strong, approach challenges in small action steps to move yourself to the next level. And what happens is when we do that, we keep our stress in check and we keep momentum going. So if you're struggling with mindset, you're probably looking at challenges in a big, broad picture. You can't do that because what will happen is the stress, the anxiety will cause you to freeze and not do anything. So you've got to look at it in small action steps, and then you need to lean in and really dig into your attributes, who you are on the inside, not what you do on the outside.
Yeah. Keep your mindset strong. By taking small steps. I think that is so valuable. It's something that all of us need to practice, because you're right. You find yourself in a challenging environment, and if you're not careful, you can allow yourself to be swallowed up into it. It becomes completely overwhelming.
Yep.
Any other nuggets you have for us, bro?
Yeah, man. If people really want to get ahead, right, Devin, they need to do what I do this thing, right? I focus, I lock in, and I attack, right? Les Brown talks about when your heart and your mind connect, you're destined for greatness. And what happens is, and you know this, Devin, from being an athlete, most people aren't disciplined enough to get where they want to go. One of my favorite quotes from Abraham Lincoln: discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. So again, that's also an attribute: discipline, focus, grit, all these tie in. But as Les said, if we don't believe in our heart and our mind where we're going, we're going to end up not taking the action necessary to get there. So I tell people, focus on what you want, lock in on the target that you desire, and take action. Attack. Don't sit around. Don't wait. Waiting and procrastination are the biggest killers of dreams and goals all day. And I'm going to say one more thing, Devin. I'm going to stress to your listeners, please, please, please talk good about yourself in challenging times. Great quote from Bruce Lee: never tell your mind negative thoughts in a joking manner. Your body cannot dissimulate the difference. So talk good about yourself. You're good enough. You're smart enough. Yeah, we all have challenges. We all have bad days. But don't make a bad day a bad week, a bad month. Get up, brush yourself off, and get back in the game. Don't allow that to hold you on the sidelines. We all are going to fail in life. The question is, right, Devin, do you learn from the failure to keep pushing yourself forward?
Bro, I love it. Focus, lock in, take action, and, self-compassion. We're not going to change our situations just sitting around. You have to do something. Like I always say, if you do nothing, that's exactly what you get, nothing. But the self-compassion piece is such an important part of the journey as well. And I encourage people all the time to talk to yourself in the way that you would talk to a friend who is in a similar position, right? You would give them some grace. Give yourself that kind of grace as well, as opposed to beat yourself up. Marques, you definitely epitomize the keep on pushing philosophy, bro. It can't feel good being a former NFL athlete, having a successful business, finding yourself on the curb. But you focused, you locked in, you took some action, you gave yourself some grace, and now here you are coaching, inspiring others to be their best selves. Thank you so much for representing all of that. Thank you for sharing your insights, your stories, your experiences on Keep On Pushing Stories.
Thanks for having me on, big man. I appreciate you, Devin.
Yeah, my man. Thank you so much again.